Hola a todos, es un gusto para mí saludarles y saber que siguen este proyecto. Yo soy Dani Mora, quienes ha venido acompañando, y hoy tenemos una entrevista sumamente importante por la persona que nos acompañará. Vamos a estar hablando acerca de la estética del contacto, un enfoque somático del desarrollo. Por supuesto, estamos hablando de Ruella Frank. Ella es psicóloga estadounidense experta en educación para el movimiento y doctora en psicología somática. Ha estado explorando los primeros movimientos infantiles y su relación con los adultos desde mediados de la década de 1970. Practica la psicoterapia en la ciudad de Nueva York, en donde es fundadora y directora del Centro de Estudios Somáticos. Es miembro del equipo de formación de Gestalt asociados para la psicoterapia y miembro de pleno derecho en el Instituto de Terapia Gestalt de Nueva York. También es colaboradora permanente en el Instituto Gestáltico de Noruega y en el Centro de Terapia y Psicología de Madrid. Forma también en Estados Unidos y en otros países alrededor del mundo. Es autora de artículos y capítulos en diversas publicaciones, así como del libro La conciencia inmediata del cuerpo, un enfoque somático y del desarrollo aplicado a la psicoterapia. El libro presenta lo que ella denomina los 6 movimientos fundamentales co-creados en la diada bebé-padre durante el primer año de vida y que funcionan de forma similar en la co-creación de la relación adulta. También es coautora de El primer año y el resto de tu vida, movimientos, desarrollo y cambio psicoterapéutico, que está disponible en 3 idiomas, así como del libro Las raíces corporales de la experiencia en psicoterapia, que también está traducido en 7 idiomas. Entonces tenemos el gusto y el honor de poder entrevistar a Ruella Frank para que pueda compartir con nosotros un esbozo de lo que es el enfoque somático del desarrollo. Como siempre les digo, espero se nutran y disfruten muchísimo de esta entrevista. Entrevistar a la maestra Ruella Frank, referente internacional en estudios somáticos y desarrollo contemporáneo de la terapia Gestalt, implicó importantes desafíos. Uno de ellos fue la traducción y subtitulación de ciertos términos que podrían generar ambigüedad o dificultad en la comprensión del contenido de esta entrevista. Antes de comenzar, leeré algunos fragmentos de la advertencia que hace Carmen Vázquez Bandín en el prólogo de la edición española del libro El primer año y el resto de tu vida, movimiento, desarrollo y cambio psicoterapéutico, donde señala las dificultades de traducir los 6 movimientos fundamentales propuestos por Ruella Frank. Ella dice: los términos que Ruella utiliza para nombrar los movimientos básicos relacionales han supuesto una tremenda dificultad y un profuso intercambio de emails entre Ruella y yo. Los términos utilizados en inglés para los 6 movimientos básicos son yielding, pushing, reaching, grasping, pulling and releasing. Como términos aislados están traducidos respectivamente como abandonarse a o abandonarse en el sentido de yacer, empujar, alcanzar, agarrar, atraer y relajar. Con reaching y releasing he tenido que modificar el sentido en numerosas ocasiones, traduciendo reaching como estirar y releasing como soltar. No hacerlo así hubiera dejado muchas frases y párrafos sin sentido. Es habitual en el mundo anglosajón gestáltico hablar con los tiempos verbales en gerundio. De esta manera se hace entender que son movimientos, esto es, procesos inscritos en el tiempo y no acciones fijas. En español es imposible hacer esto. Por lo tanto, la traducción está hecha en infinitivo. El significado de determinadas palabras varía de un país a otro. Por eso, mi decisión ha sido traducir el libro al español de España. Una decisión necesaria para poder tener un criterio de traducción ya de por sí complicado por los muchos matices y descripciones. Ahora bien, esto es lo que plantea Carmen Vázquez Bandín en el prólogo de ese libro. Tomando eso en consideración, quisiera compartir con ustedes una breve reflexión que pudiera ayudarnos a contextualizar mejor lo que veremos a continuación. Vale la pena adaptar estos 6 movimientos fundamentales al contexto latinoamericano, ya que algunas palabras pierden su sentido original al ser traducidos literalmente. Por ejemplo, Jill, traducido por Carmen Vázquez como abandonarse, podría comprenderse mejor como ceder, ya que abandonarse puede sonar más cercano a colapsarse y no refleja del todo el matiz del término original, por lo menos en Latinoamérica. Con respecto a push, traducido como empujar, en esta entrevista Ruella utiliza las expresiones push against and push back. En nuestro trabajo decidimos traducirlas como empuje y contraempuje. El empuje hace referencia al acto, por supuesto, de empujar, de diferenciarse, mientras que el contraempuje alude a la resistencia del otro o lo otro, lo que permite reconocer que hay un yo y un no yo. Con reach optamos por usar alcanzar y también estirar. Alcanzar puede sonar más abstracto en el sentido de llegar a poseer lo que se busca o se solicita, mientras que estirar incorpora lo sensoriomotor, el movimiento corporal hacia el otro o hacia lo otro. Lo mismo ocurre con pull, que puede traducirse como atraer o jalar. Atraer resalta el acto de convocar o hacer algo que acuda hacia uno mismo, mientras que jalar conserva el matiz del movimiento físico, el gesto concreto de acercar algo o a alguien hacia sí. De igual manera, cada vez que se mencionan los 6 movimientos fundamentales, se mantiene su nombre original en inglés, dejando abierta la posibilidad de futuras revisiones o adaptaciones. Esta es solo una sugerencia provisional hecha con la conciencia del riesgo de la equivocación, pero también con el deseo de facilitar la comprensión y asimilación de esta entrevista. Espero que esta contextualización te ayude a disfrutar y aprovechar el encuentro con Ruella Frank desde una mirada gestáltica y corporal más cercana a nuestra forma de comprender y habitar el lenguaje en Latinoamérica. Y luego de muchos emails, estamos aquí juntos. Gracias, Ruella Frank, por aceptar esta invitación a participar en este espacio de difusión de la terapia Gestalt con perspectiva de campo, y usted no podía faltar. ¿Cómo está?
I'm well, thank you, and I'm very glad to be here.
Maravilla. Entonces, el tema que nos convoca hoy es la estética del contacto, un enfoque somático del desarrollo. Así que comenzamos con la primera pregunta, ¿le parece?
Yeah.
¿A qué se refiere la palabra estética, ya que tiene gran variedad de significados de acuerdo al contexto?
Yeah, I agree. Aesthetic is sometimes thought of as knowing beauty, but it's different in Gestalt therapy. Laura Perls, who is my teacher the last 4 years of my life, with Dan Bloom, I know you interviewed him before. Laura says that Gestalt is philosophy and aesthetics and not technique. Now, Baumgarten, who was a philosopher in the 1700s, talked about aesthetic is not that this is beautiful or that is beautiful, but it's based on a sense of taste. Your own sensibility is what is sensuous for you. Just like we diagnose when we go to a dance concert and we feel the dancer is moving within us, or we see a Rodin sculpture and we move and feel that experience. So the aesthetics is not the knowing of beauty, but rather the beauty of knowing how whatever appears to you passes through you. So that's the phenomenologic and the aesthetic of Gestalt therapy. And I have a whole nonverbal vocabulary that I've developed that's based on understanding how this moves through us, these qualities, I call them. Kinesthesia, I refer to it. Kinesthesia is the impression of your moving. So Danny, if you move your hands like this with me, can you do this with you can feel yourself moving, right? It's the impression of your moving. It's different than if you went like this, a different impression. So when I sit with a therapy patient and I'm here sitting on my chair or with you, I'm noticing how I'm feeling through this experience. Then I know something about how we are being together. Was that enough of an explanation on the aesthetic? And the aesthetics, it's not a passive experience because the kinesthesia, and most people we don't feel it all the time, and most people do not feel it, but it's there anyway and always. And it is that impulse that brings you out into the world. Before you move to say something, to do something, there is this kinesthetic, in quotes, drive. I can't say it in a better way, but this impulse to move you out. So the kinesthetic experience, when you're aware of it, you're aware of how you're moving towards the other person and how you're responding, also how you're receiving them. Because receiving and responding happens simultaneously. So I can look at you when you nod your head. Now you're smiling. I receive that and respond. Always on this kinesthetic drive.
Ok, bien. ¿Y cómo entiende entonces la idea de estética del contacto desde el modelo gestáltico?
I don't think aesthetics is passive, as I said. It takes work as you become aware of whatever you're noticing now in relation to the situation. I have to wait and get clear and see how that's forming my gestalt, how that's contributing to the how of the making the gestalt. One of the things we do in gestalt is to unpack the figure that forms. So I'm experiencing, I'm hearing, I'm seeing, I'm feeling the forming figure, and I wait to get a sense of myself before I make my next intervention or my next action.
¿Y qué significa para usted trabajar entonces desde el enfoque somático en terapia?
Movement is a realization.
Oh.
Movement finds what's on the horizon that's not yet come. So, as if I'm a little baby in the arms of my father, 5 months old, and he's smiling at me, and I raise my hand to reach him, in the moment of the reaching is also the consequence. It's the realization of what will come. That's what Fritz says. The consequence is in the contacting. So I already know in this reaching for his cheek what I will find there. Movement is a realization. And movement is we shape ourselves to the other, and they shape ourselves to us through movement. Through bodily movement, I find myself with you. I can find myself like this with you, and that expresses something about the relationship, or like this with you. So movement shapes how I live with you. Movement expresses and articulates intention, a bodily intention. So, I should say gesture of the body, the face, the eyes, the hands, the feet. That gesture expresses and articulates intention. So movement is expressing bodily intention. And as Merleau-Ponty says, it's as if your intention lives in me and my intention lives in you. I think of also gesture as an expression of thought in the phenomenal field. So when I gesture to you, and now our translator is shaking his head as I speak, he's gesturing to me. We're making this gesture together. We're thinking within movement together. In a session, whatever you are saying, it's not without me as being part of what you're saying. What you're saying is for me, to me, about me. And who's made this intervention? Is it you or me? My words, where do they come from? This field, this relational field. That was a very long sentence.
But we love that. We love long sentences and long answers, and it's great.
First of all, we used to say Gestalt and interruptions, but the New York Institute in the 80s got rid of interruptions. I call them modifications, how we modify our creative adjusting, but we modify all the time, because when I do this move, I have one experience. When I do this, try it with me. You extend your hands a little bit, you do this, and you feel something. You do this, there's something different that can appear. You do this as I try to touch your face on this, something different. So throughout this moving experience, there are all these different kinesthetic experiences that roll one on top of the other. I think even Merleau-Ponty says something like that about the unending kinesthesia of it. And so, what was the question again?
But it was more of a comment to your comments, like your interpretation of my gestures somehow conditions your reaction.
Yeah. I don't make an interpretation. I make it's an experience.
Experience based.
If I'm a therapist and you go like this and I make an interpretation, I cut off the id of situation. I have to let, as Jean-Marie calls id of situation, I love that. I have to let that id of situation, how you're gesturing to me, what I feel. If I start to make even a hypothesis too soon, I'm already making a figure. I want to wait. That's the aesthetics, is wait with this id of situation before the figure forms, with all the possibilities where we could go. I don't want to make an intervention too soon to limit those possibilities.
Ok. Hablando un poco de la resonancia kinestésica, hay una frase que se plantea en uno de sus libros, que dice: con la información kinestésica sabemos lo que sabemos antes de saber que lo sabemos. ¿A qué se refiere un poco con esto?
We know before we know we know.
Yeah.
Because at the level of bodily experience, and everybody in therapy, your students, your patient, the people you work with, they already have a bodily knowing a situation, but they don't know they're already working through movement. They are already feeling something. And then when we reflect on it, we bring in the cognition aspect. But a bodily knowing is, maybe I give this experience, it's a practical knowing that when I take my cup to take a drink, I don't think of, oh, now I put my hand and grasp onto it and pull it toward me. I know how to do this. I know how much the cup will weigh, so how much effort to put into it. It's different than when I pick up this pen. But there is a bodily knowing of this situation that I'm living. And when I reflect on it, I bring the cognition and I can bring language to it. Did I answer that well? Ask me more if I did not.
Okay. ¿Y cómo el terapeuta facilita la experiencia kinestésica?
Yeah. So I don't do it with everyone, because there are some people that cannot feel. And if I say, what do you feel? They feel like they should be doing something different. or they get angry, or they feel shamed, anxious. So I know, and we all know who to ask. Can you feel what you're this or that? Or if I say, what do you think about what your husband said to you? Even if I say think, they have to pause, and it restructures their experience so that even in the thinking, there's a kinesthetic change that they don't feel or cannot articulate, but you feel it in the relationship. They have paused and considered what you've said, because they've reached and grasped and taken you in to some extent. In my asking how you think, unbeknownst to you, without your knowing, there will be a kinesthetic change. And I, as a therapist, will feel a shift in their relational. Now, there are some people who are ready to feel themselves. And I go to the periphery. I don't start with their chest or their abdomen. I wonder what's happening in your jaw right now. Does it feel heavy or light? So I give them some options. Does it feel open or closed? I always like to give the options. I give a metaphor. Does it feel like glass or like cement? Then I can go to shoulders, because most everybody feels that. Do your shoulders feel as if they're moving in and up, or they are down and resting on your rib cage? Are they heavy pressing down, or they're light? So I usually say open, closed, heavy, light. If I think I can get to here, do you notice anything here? Do you notice a jumble here or a calm? Do you notice a snappy feeling or an easy feeling? Are you open or closed? I might do it with my hands. Are you open or closed? Or can you show me here with your hand what you notice here? I see your hand, you have a tight fist. So that's a lot that's going on here. And I try to take them slowly and see how they respond, but always with the periphery, the jaw and the shoulders or the hands.
Okay.
I want to say again, don't ask someone. If you ask someone who feels and they say, I don't, or I don't know, or something, let that be. Now, if people who you ask, what do you feel? And they say nothing, I say, wonderful. You know you feel nothing. That's a knowing. And that's an achievement in contacting. You had to work very hard to make this nothing. That's a retroflection. I want to respect your retroflecting. I want to respect your nothing. And then people begin to respect their retroflecting, because when I first became a Gestalt therapist, we had to get rid of it. You know, you had to take, I'm old, so you had to take a bataka on a stick and pound a chair and show the mother. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So no, a retroflection was an assistance, Laura would say, for something that happened in the past. It assisted you. It was your creative adjusting. And as long as you believe that if I show you how I feel, you'll criticize me, I won't show you. It's habitual now, but inside this retroflection, which you see with the other, but mostly you feel it. It's a retroflected field. You're going to feel the holding. Isidore Fromm said, the anxious introject and project. What's important about holding tight now? What's important about feeling nothing? Always looking for the function. It's important because otherwise you'll criticize me. Now we have a projection. What do you feel about yourself that you feel nothing? I feel something's wrong with me. And if you felt something, I still would feel something's wrong with me. So now possible introjections. Is that clear?
Yeah, it's clear.
Ahora bien, ¿cómo el cuerpo del terapeuta sirve de apoyo y de ground en el proceso terapéutico?
Laura would say, when you find yourself here, whatever, whether you're tight or it's not like I make myself Om Shanti Shanti. You don't have to be, I just have to notice what I feel, the truth of that. That creates the environment from which the client takes support. We don't give support. The client takes support. We create an environment from which they can take support from us. And at the beginning of any webinar I do, at the beginning of any workshop or training I teach, we spend time finding ourselves in the chair. So how do you feel your push against the chair, and how do you feel the push back? Because that's how you find the pressures of the field. There's always the other pushing back. For instance, you two, can you just move to your left side in the chair?
That.
Now, you didn't fall because you have the constraint of the chair. That's information from the world. That I see as the pressures of the field. We say in Gestalt, they say tensions of the field, but I prefer pressures of the field. That's the information from the world that we get as we push against. And if we push a little more, we can come back to 2. That constraint, the push against, gives us the freedom to move. That pushback of the world. And right now, we are pushing against each other with the sound of our voice, with our content, with our presence. And I feel you push back in a wonderful way. You know, if you ask Johnny, right? Johnny, yes. You ask a question, sometimes it has a little more intensity. Sometimes your pushback is a little more intense. Great, I need to match that.
Okay.
I don't. Yeah. So I start every session that I do in training or webinars with a long time. The student finds themselves on the chair, pelvis, thighs on the chair, feet on the ground, arms on the chair, on their thighs. Heidegger would call this Befindlichkeit. How do you find yourself? He would say, the phenomenologist Heidegger. How do you find yourself in this situation? We are embedded in this situation. How do I find myself with you now? And that's what you need to do to begin your session is, as I say in English, perdóname, find your ass in the chair.
Ok, bien. Ahora, esta es una pregunta amplia. Vamos a ver cómo nos va. ¿Cómo surgen los movimientos en relación con el otro en el primer año de vida y en el momento a momento de la sesión terapéutica? Por ahí también pudiéramos responder cómo se organiza el síntoma en el aquí y ahora de la sesión.
Okay, let me do the first. Well, first of all, the babies and the parents, if you look at how they move towards each other, and I've seen them in very slowed down videos, there's always these micro movements, there's always a conversation. There's always a proto-dialogue going on. And this dialogue, these movement passages, these ongoing conversations make meaning. It's a thinking within movement. It's a logicking from movement. It's not cognitive, but it's the very foundation of cognition and of language and cognition. But that's not to say that it only serves as a foundation. These movements happen, I look at in the first year of life. They are functionally similar to how we make meaning in the therapeutic dyad. We make meaning through movement. And I have categorized these 6 fundamental movements that are the supports for all contacting. So as I look at my client, gesturing or not, I had a client say to me, Ruella, I'm so happy. I'm in love. Now you think that's not a gesture, but that face, that absence of any kind of overt movement and the silence of his whole body and the tone of his voice, that is giving me lots of information. And there's a meaning there that he's making to me, and I'm feeling that meaning. So those 6 fundamental movements are underlying his contacting process. And those movements are greatly diminished. So, you know the 6 fundamentals, shall I say them? Is that useful?
Sí.
Okay. Yielding with. Yielding doesn't translate easily. I'm sorry I use that word. Let's say being with. Yeah. How you are being with yourself and the other. Pushing against is how I separate from while including you. I'm going to raise my voice, okay? Sorry, everybody. If I push against like this, how do I include you in my experience? I can say, I'm a client that wants you to fix me, and you have to fix me now. And can you see the tone and intensity that pushing against?
Yeah.
There's no being with you as I'm with me. I have to get a prop. Just a minute.
Yeah, go ahead.
Scusi, I'll be right back. So that yielding, that being with and pushing against, that supports a reaching for. If I have too much push, then my reach is like this. There's not enough being with myself and you. Now, reaching is about seeking what's possible for me, wanting, desiring. Am I going to get what I want like this from you? Maybe my history is being stimulated in this moment, and I think you won't give me. I have to make you. Or maybe there's a push against it so weak like this because I think, why try? I'm not going to get it anyway. So what's possible here? Now there's a grasping onto of the other. If I've reached for you successfully and I have enough being with and there's enough pushing against is the aggression in Gestalt therapy. That's the moment in the sequence of aggressing, moving towards contact. Reaching for is contacting. I find what fits me with this grasping onto is what I've reached for, what I want. Is it suitable for me? Grasping onto is like eureka. Eureka defined as I got it, and it's suitable. This is final contacting. Now I pull it toward me, also final contacting. As I integrate this experience, what I got from you, I integrate. Then it's releasing from. It's not just releasing a paper, it's the figure closes. Always a preposition, a with, and against. You have to do it different in Spanish, I think. But in English, there's always a preposition because there's always another. I do not exist without an other. Even when I'm in my room, we say goodbye, I'll be thinking there's somebody in my head. Or I'll say, oh, Ruella, you could have said this or that. I'll be talking to someone. There's always an other there. Is that clear enough for the beginning of the functional similarity? We make meaning through movement and through contacting the 6 fundamentals. Now you can see in the baby how contacting develops. In the baby here, when the baby's like 2 weeks old, they didn't think this was reaching. They thought this was just reflexive. But the baby was reaching, just the push wasn't developed enough. So biomechanically, they didn't have enough push to complete the trajectory, so they're here. But they're always reaching. Your clients, even if they're frozen, even if they look frozen, they're always reaching to you. We reach to survive. I think after you've studied the work a bit, or maybe you get this from your book too, my book, someone's book, that can you think to yourself how this other is reaching for you? How do you feel reached for? How do you feel they are desiring something from you? And if not, what's happening in the contact? What are you doing? And what are they doing? What are you making together to make this reaching not possible now?
So let's see how this takes us to the second part of the question.
Yeah.
How is the symptom organized in the here and now of the session?
This is a funnel.
Yeah.
I learned this from Jean-Marie. He doesn't use this anymore. I use this all the time. Here is your creation. This is your symptom. I've worked hard to develop it. I don't want to minimize it. It is who you experience yourself to be. There's a lot of personality function here too. Now, I'm looking at the materials that go into this creation. What is the creativity? How is the person moving? How are they kinesthetically experiencing themselves? How are they emotionally experiencing themselves? What are they thinking? All those pieces go into this creation. So as I'm working with this symptom, how it's being stimulated, I'm also wondering what my piece of it is. So can you give me an example of, what was the question again? How are the symptoms, the question?
How is the symptom organized? The symptoms organized in the here and now of the session.
They're always stimulated. It's what you bring from the past. It could be the recent past or the past. Whatever is stimulated in this moment from sitting with you, And if what's stimulated in sitting with you is going to criticize, that I'm going to be criticized, then here comes my symptom even more clear. So how is this emerging now? How is this emerging now between us? It's time consciousness. It's whatever is in the present is of the past and anticipated in the future, all in the present. There is no present without past and future within it. In the now moment, doesn't exist without past and future. Really, the legs are the past of this moment and what I anticipate.
Perfecto.
That would, if you can share with us an example, that would be perfect.
If I'm your patient, Danny, and I look up at you and you're not smiling at me, I'm already holding myself back because I think you're not interested in me. So I'm interpreting nuance. I'm interpreting your straight mouth means you're not interested. And in a way, I'm demanding that you smile at me to show your interest. So this is how the past, and then if all of a sudden, if you smile, Danny, I think, oh, so now I have your attention. Now you do want to be with me. Now you are interested in me. But look at all the work I put on you so that I can feel your interest. Now, if I work with that, Danny, let's say you're the patient and you say, I'm not smiling. And so what does that mean to you? So when you tell me when I don't smile, it means I'm not interested. So you can't imagine I'm interested unless I have to really do something different for me to show that you're interested. I'm interested in you. So I put it back on you.
Okay.
The work I have to do to make sure you're interested. what does it mean about you if I'm not interested? Oh, it means you're less than. So every time you see I have a straight mouth, you imagine you're less than. That sounds difficult. So can you see how, is that clear enough?
Yes, it is definitely.
¿Y cómo sería el acompañamiento desde el enfoque somático? Estamos allí resonando kinestésicamente, estamos allí con el otro, ¿y cómo es el acompañamiento? ¿Qué sigue?
Don't think that you're not working somatically,
Okay.
because experience is only of the body. And we work with experience. So we're all working with body. I'm just refining it into movement. So if you're curious about how you sit in the chair, how you are with this person, you are enhancing your work somatically. You don't have to make them do anything. The beginning is, I would say, don't. Okay, don't until you've learned well, but just notice yourself. That is opening for you, I said before, the environment from which they take support. They will notice you are present and something will shift with them.
Hay una idea en sus textos muy interesante que dice, cuando los terapeutas disminuyen la velocidad y se mueven dentro de sí mismos, descubren que están dentro del campo relacional en desarrollo. ¿Pudiera ampliar un poco más esta idea?
Okay, yes, because I'm kinesthetic resonation is vibrations reverberating from one person to another, intersubjective field from which I get my subjectivity, or better, trans-subjective field from which I get my subjectivity. So whatever I'm feeling isn't mine alone. I feel what I experience in the session. I experience my experience of you. I don't experience you, but my experience of you. I do experience what we make together. So whatever I'm feeling, for instance, sometimes a supervisee will say, I'm so bored. Well, yeah, what's happening in the relationship here that is being cut off, is being not experienced? What is the boring of the field? Or I'm feeling so annoyed with my, what's the annoyance here that I'm picking up? Don't think it's yours alone. It's yours with the other. We are always with, against, for, onto, etc., etc. That's the relational field. And the body, the movement expresses the relational field. And these are internal movements that happen, that are expressions of the relational field.
Bien, y por supuesto teníamos que llegar a los 6 movimientos fundamentales, estaba dentro de la programación, ¿sí? Ahora, creo que solamente nombramos 3. ¿Pudiéramos seguir hablando de los otros movimientos fundamentales?
Yeah. Danny, Johnny, would you like to stand up and do this wave with me? This is how I teach them.
Yes, of course.
Okay. Everybody who's listening.
Levantémonos, Dani. Así de este modo ya los enseña.
Do this all with me. We're going to be the sea. And you, Johnny, you have a beautiful background for being in the sea at night.
In the universe.
Wave, easy, easy. There's no boundaries. This is just my experience. I'm just awakening to the world. No figure yet. Very horizontal. No meaning yet. There are fish under me a little bit on the vast sea. I feel the wind blowing, but nothing clear yet. Okay, now more fish, a little impulse is developing. I feel the wind more clearly. I'm aware of the situation I'm living. Here's the push. I go from wide all possibilities to now making a figure I have to narrow with this push against, comes up, the wave comes up, and I get more clear, up, arriba, arriba, arriba. Yeah, I get more clear. I see the beach in front of me. And I see, now I'm going to reach for. So I go from id functioning, for contacting, to into now reaching for ego function. Yes, I'm going to select. Do I want the coconut on the beach? Do I want the man on the beach? Do I want the sand or the ice cream vendor? I'm going to choose the sand. I reach for ego function. I select. I feel the sand in my hand. Is this what I wanted? Am I going to reject it? No, I'll find something else or take this. Ah, yes. I take and I pull toward me. I make me with you. I take the experience made together with the ocean, take time to integrate it, and then the figure is complete. That's a metaphor. All theory is a metaphor, but that's a metaphor for the 6 fundamentals. And they work like this. They all happen to give the rhythm of contacting. They're all part of the rhythm of contacting. Jean-Marie says that form is a rhythm. This, through the 6 fundamental, is how we form form. It's active. Yes, form is always forming. And when I work with someone, I'm interested in the content of what they're saying, because in the content is always process. If someone says, I want to get a pair of shoes today and they didn't have the right size, and then my husband came home and I didn't make the right dinner. And so I'm always interested when they are complaining like that. So whatever you did today was not right for yourself or anybody else. Then that's the process. Then they can experience themselves. We find the forming. We're looking for the forming of the form. That makes sense?
That makes sense. And, especially after the exercise, it makes more sense.
What did you get from the exercise? You could tell me and then I could.
Dani, pregunta Ruella, ¿qué obtuvimos de este ejercicio?
Para mí fue fluidez, fluir. Contactarme con algo, fluir y luego tomar. Eso fue lo interesante para mí.
Now, let me look for a second. How about if I'm so depressed, no impulse is clear? ¿Me entiendes?
Mm-hmm.
How about if I have an impulse, a desire, but I'm too afraid to express it? Here's the modification. How about I feel the impulse, my desire to be with you, and then you leave me? I have nothing in my hands. How about if you're here, I take you in with me, and I don't want to let go.
Okay.
I never let go of this. I'm going to keep you forever. The hanging on bite, Fritz would say. So you can see the modifications. Now, Isidor Fromm had a way that he was going to analyze contacting in the moment of the session. And he was working with the words for contacting, but it could never be because it was you had to make it an entity. I have to say the beauty of these 6 fundamentals is that I can feel when contacting is fluid or disrupted, and I can feel how and when in this sequence. I can feel how you don't have enough fluidity in your push against to differentiate from me. Or maybe if you feel more differentiation, I will feel that as your push back to me will be more solid. This is not easy to understand because it's a new language, but you didn't get an understanding of Gestalt from one book or one video.
Yeah, that's definitely true. But thank you very much for giving us this very, detailed explanation. And, it's clear now. And I'm sure it's going to be even clearer for the people who are going to watch the video.
Ahora, como para ir cerrando, ¿qué aspectos debes considerarse al realizar evaluaciones estéticas y diagnósticos fenomenológicos?
Well, phenomenology is what appears to us, what we see, hear, how we touch, and all those things give us this kinesthetic experience of the situation, this aesthetic experience of the situation, this sensuous experience of the situation. And really everything I said, phenomenological and aesthetics, is to wait. That's the most important thing I learned from Laura. Can I end with a story of Laura? Laura is in her internship in a mental hospital. So she's sitting there waiting for the patient to come in. Patient comes in, sits down, says nothing. Laura says nothing. Time passes, 50 minutes, patient leaves. Next time, patient comes in, sits down, says nothing. Laura says nothing. Patient leaves. Third time, patient sits down, says nothing. 50 minutes pass, Laura says nothing. Patient leaves. Fourth session, patient comes in, sits down, says, "Thank you for waiting." You understand? Thank you for waiting.
Right.
Your ability to wait with the other person allows them to open. If you think you're sitting there, especially beginning patients, beginning therapists, sitting there and making intervention after intervention, you are making something happen rather than listening with the whole of you for what's happening. And for that, you have to wait. That's what I learned from Laura. If you see me do session, demonstration, you see me wait. Wait till I know what I feel so that I'm knowing something that's passing between us. ¿Hay más preguntas o al fin?
No me quiero ir sin una.
There's one last question we would like to ask you.
¿Cómo reconoce en el cuerpo del paciente las huellas del desarrollo temprano?
I don't think about that.
¿No?
It's such a good question because here I have this developmental somatic approach, but I am a Gestalt therapist. I know what emerges between us will have a trace of the past, but I stay with what emerges. I never think, how did your mother bottle feed you when you were 6 months old? I never look for cause and effect. I stay with the present, and I know there are traces in this present moment that we form together of the past. I never ask my people, well, I have one thing I ask in the first or second session. I ask, can you give me 3 adjectives of how you saw your mother when you were a child and how you saw your father, 3 adjectives. Then the person has to answer spontaneously. They aren't talking about, because when you go into the story of the past, it's about. It's not of the situation. So they give me these 3 adjectives and they're in the situation. She was comforting. How? How was she comforting? Did she comfort your father? It's all spontaneous in this moment. I don't ask. I never say, is this familiar from when you were a child? Never say that. I believe that as we work in this present moment, that we will heal what's happened earlier. Is that clear, honey?
Yes.
Such a good question, because often people think that I'm thinking about the past, living in the present. I know it's here. My past is here. Your past is here. Next time I see you, I hope I see you two again sometime. What we made together will be here.
It's true.
Es lo mismo resonancia que contratransferencia.
Oh, I don't want to speak about transference because it's very complicated.
Yeah.
So maybe I could say that kinesthetic resonance is the condition from which transferential issues emerge. There has to be a kinesthetic resonating. But that's the first time I've said that, so yeah.
Interesante. Bueno, muchísimas gracias, doctora Roland, porque para nosotros es sumamente importante traer todo este conocimiento a Latinoamérica, que sé que hay algunos precursores que vienen difundiendo un poco su modelo, pero en este espacio es sumamente gratificante. Así que muchísimas gracias por compartir con nosotros todo esto.
It's so wonderful for me too. And it's always an honor when someone is interested in the work. It's my mission. It's my mission in life. So, and I just want to say one thing. There are terrible things happening in the world, we know. When Martin Luther, who created the Reformation for the Catholic Church, they asked Martin Luther, if there was no tomorrow, what would he do today? And he said, if there was no tomorrow, I would plant my apple tree today. I feel like we planted apple trees.
You're definitivamente.
Thank you so much.
Bueno,
okay, say
un
goodbye.
gusto a tenerla acá. Un abrazo desde Colombia y que esté muy, muy bien.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.